Hello, my name is Victor, Victor Powell. So with everyone else, I put together a visualization for the Hack the BART event. I called it the salary of every BART employee because I couldn't come up with anything shorter. Yeah, I made it. I said that. Okay, and that's me on Twitter and everywhere else. So you should. Okay, you know the rest. So I'm just going to get right into the cool stuff, which for me is the data visualization part, and I hope for you guys as well since you're here. So let's just, I guess, pull it up and show you the data visualization. Let me reload it too because the animation is really cool. So. So yeah, this was the data visualization I put together. Every dot represents a person that works for the BART. And you can hover over them and see information about them in the current view that we're in. And for right now, this is total cost of employee. And again, this is every employee that I know of, I guess, or that was in the data set that I was given. We'll talk more about the data towards the end if we have time. We can also color all of these dots, which represent employees. So let's trick a little bit. The sizes represent the current metric we're looking at too. So total cost of employee would be the area, not the radius of the circle. And so yeah, sorted from greatest to least, and we can hover over them and see their value. Okay, so unions. We can also color them. Right now they're colored by union. We can click on title, color them by, what is it, title? So their job title. It doesn't sort them by that, but we can see maybe sort of investigate some patterns within the data. And we can also change the sort type. We can go from total cost of employee to base pay to overtime pay. We can click on other, overtime to base pay, which was just sort of an interesting ratio, I thought, to include base plus OT plus other. And again, when we hover over it, now we can see the person's name, their title, their union affiliation, if there is one, and also the metric that we're currently looking at. So what else do I want to talk about? Before I get into talking about the data itself, I guess I wanted to talk a little bit about how did this come about? Why how did it get created? What was the process that went into creating it? And it was really all motivated by this sort of frustration with the things I was hearing on the news about people talking about averages or the average BART employee makes X, and this was from the management. And then you would hear unions say, well, average BART employee salary is Y, and okay. And you really lose a lot of detail whenever you get numbers that are just sort of averages or aggregate collections, sort of that represent the whole data set. Well, why can't we just look at all the data? Why do we have to digest this information as just a single number? And that was the main motivating thought behind all of this. How it got to be what it is, though, was a real. It was a journey, I guess, of discovery. That sounds very cheesy to say, but I didn't think this is what I'm going to make and I'm going to do it. No one handed me a mock-up and said, make this. I started out with data, which was very convenient to be just given data and just say here, go ahead, play. It's all clean for you. Do whatever you want. And I did. So I put together these force-directed layouts. I started just by adding all the nodes on the screen and just seeing what if I could even do that in a browser, and it turned out you could. And then after that, I went on and I started doing other things, exploring and tinkering with different ways in which I could reorganize the data or sort the data and see whether or not it was useful to do it that way or lay it out in a different way. And it just sort of slowly evolved into what it is right now. Speaking of, in particular, to I guess aesthetics. Also, I used, if you're more technically inclined, I also used a plugin with the fisheye effect. So as you hover over, you get to see it like blossom up a little bit, and that provides no visual value, but it's really cool to tinker with. So as a recommendation for you guys, everyone talks about like, oh, like you should get rid of all the fluff, but sometimes it's, it's kind of fun to just have something that you're just like, ooh, that's cool, just something that's a little bit eye candy-y. So that was the visualization. It got a lot of publicity, which I was surprised by. And I think part of what contributed to that was its sort of shareability in a way. It's really easy to just sort of like take this in an iframe and put it on your own site. Because it's responsive. I'm sorry? Okay, so it's responsive, so it'll adapt to the container it's in. And I think because of that, it was picked up by the Atlantic cities. That's probably not a good thing to search for. Let's do BART salaries. Oh, look at that, number 2. And here it is in the Atlantic cities, and they write about it and all the other data visualizations, and they just put it right in there. It's great. It's exactly what I wanted. What's up? I'm sorry? The what? The bet? Oh, so there was like, you're better at telling the stories than I am, so I'm just going to.
I bet if you get 100,000 views, and then he got like 103, so he had to buy me 2 spoon rockets.
So I owed Lewis 2 spoon rockets because he said he bet me that it would get more than 100,000 views. It did. He proved me wrong, and so I bought him a spoon rocket. But that's all. I mean, that's all great and glamorous. But what really saved me a lot of time and sort of the less glamorous side about all this is the data, right? I had this data, I was able to use it, I didn't have to spend time cleaning it, formatting it, and doing all this other stuff, which is what like 99%, well, you guys are all data visualization experts, I'm sure, but particularly when you're working with data that you have no control over. Government data, it's like about as stereotypically hard and difficult to format as possible. And so like it's really frustrating. And I guess what I wanted to talk a little bit about the path of the data if I still have time. If someone could just like cut me off at 15 minutes, I don't know where I'm at. I forgot my timer, but okay, but the path of the data, right? So it's like kind of this wacky story, this like discombobulated jumble of series of things that just got this data to this beautiful format that I could just show. And that all started with the Bay Area data. I guess there's their thing. So yeah, here's a slide I forgot about, nerd stuff. The data path. So it started with a Freedom of Information request by Bay Area data. And that was probably given to them in a PDF. I don't really know if it was a PDF, but sort of the same lines, right? Just like this absolutely frustrating format. What the fuck? And I don't really know the processes that went involved, but like we kind of know, right? I mean, we've heard the horror stories. And as awesome and as a great of an effort was of them, they put it up on a website that they called a database. And so we had to write a scraper to take it off the website. I didn't write this. This is someone else again. John Osborn, if I know correct. It was like there. His name is on the Google Doc, so I assume it's him. Someone else had to format the data, right? Because there's all kinds of weird, like especially when you scrape it, they format it to make it look pretty. They have dollar signs, they have all this other stuff, all this cruft that you have to remove. And so someone had to format the data, and that was Ian. The meetup people, collectively, I just see it like GitHub / Angelot. But the credit is due to others. And also, joining the data with the union information, right? Because there were multiple data sources. We didn't just get it from one place. You had to combine it with other data sets to get information about union information. And that was provided by Antony Courtney. I hope I said that right. But we can do a lot better. And I think that if we can do a lot, if we can sort of cram that process, right, into something that's so much more convenient, we'd save so much more time. So much human effort is being wasted on all of this fluff needlessly, and it really is frustrating. And I just wanted to talk about that. And I don't know, like, people listening, can someone fix this? This is like a call to action. Like, you know, startup nerds, like, do it, fix it. You know, do we really need another Snapchat app? So, I mean, it really just should be that, so that we can get to that, to data, because that's what we want in the end. It's just awesome data that we don't have to fucking part. Never mind. Okay. I don't remember what this slide was for. Okay. So yeah, data. Data's like, you know, it's like really easy to reason about and talk about, and I think it gets lost too, because everyone, it's not the glamorous part of data visualization. It's just like, oh yeah, well the data's out there, just, you know, figure it out, right? Like, we have all the data. But what gets lost are these sort of unknown unknowns, these sort of hidden difficulties that you don't really think about, that just get totally forgotten in the ether, and until they come up, until it becomes a problem. Do I have time left? Okay. I like to edit my slide. Awesome. This is just sort of like a random thought of appreciability. It's kind of it's so semi-related to my last couple slides, but like, why don't people, you know, why don't people care a lot about this kind of thing? Why don't people, like, you know, get up in arms and say, like, what, you know, WTF? Like, let's get some clean data. Why is this the part of open data? I don't know, like open government or open data, like, that gets forgotten. People just say, like, oh, it's open. Like, you can go look at the data. Well, you know, after 40 hours of parsing and looking for a semicolon. And I think it has to do with this idea of appreciability. 3 different types of appreciability. I don't know why I said now, that's a typo. High, medium, and low. High appreciability things are like music, movies, photography. These are things that we're sort of born with the ability to just recognize and say, like, that's awesome. Like, I don't even know why. I just feel it. It's like really cool stuff. And that also is visualization, I think, in some ways. And we can just look at it and we can communicate with this built-in internal ability that people have and just say, like, this is what the data says. And it's easily consumable because of that. Then there's this sort of, like, I don't know, this medium tier of appreciability, which I call, some examples are like, oh, there's the timer. Reading, writing, reading and writing, I guess I didn't really come up with very many examples, but just like common skills that you get trained to do, and that almost everyone has. And so you can, like, read a book and just say, that was awesome, you know? But if you didn't read a book and you saw someone, like, talk about how awesome this book was, and you're just like, I just don't get it. Like, what? It's just text on paper. And that's, I think, how a lot of people feel about things like code, which I consider sort of like, or data, low appreciability things. Nowadays, I guess, anyway, Morse code is something that I think is not nearly as appreciated as it was back in the day. Or, you know, at least not anymore. It was something like, now it's really rare to find someone that has Morse code. But I don't know where I was going with that. But yeah, there's like all this like beautiful like intricacy in the way that people used to communicate in Morse code. People used to have their own signature. You could like distinguish someone by their key signature. You'd be like, oh, that's Fred. Like, I can hear it. Like, I can tell. It's like, and so I think there's all like this beautiful, I don't know, sort of beautiful quality to it that isn't quite, I don't know, scientific. I should sit back down. Okay. Yeah, coding is one of them. Data parsing is another, and I just, I think people don't appreciate it. It's like a thing. You have to, like, you should, it's beautiful if you can really do it well, but, we just think, like, beautiful data, like, or, I don't know, maybe people do that nowadays, but it's just, rare skills. I just wanted to have a slide for synergy and to point at it and just say synergy. That's it.